Alright everyone, so this video is going to go over a number of things that you're probably going to need to know or want to know for working on your level. We're kind of going to bounce around all these little windows here, just go over some basic things that you'll need to know while working on your level. So when you open Unreal, this should pretty much be the default view that you have. If you'd like to see this, just start a new scene and make sure you have the starter content added, and you'll be able to have the chair and whatnot in this scene. Okay, so this is what this is going to look like. So we're just going to go over a few different things here, kind of how to move around in here, what are some of these windows, and what you're going to need to know. Okay, so we're going to start with controls right now and moving around in the viewer and in the editor. So by default, you're in perspective view, and there are two ways you can move around in Unreal, depending on what you prefer. So the first way is sort of the default way that's been around for a long time, and that is moving with WASD. Okay, so if I hit WASD right now, nothing's happening, but if I click in the perspective view and start to press WASD, okay, now I'm moving around with those controls. If I continue to hold down left mouse button and push forward, I will move around. If I pull backwards, okay, and if I move left, I'm just sort of looking left or right. Now, if I wanted to move that way, I would have to move forward on the mouse. I'm moving back. The right mouse button, if we click, that is kind of like a view. Right now I'm looking everywhere. I'm pressing left, I'm pushing forward. That's up, down, takes me down. Okay, so that'll let you sort of look around, almost first-person perspective. If I hold both left mouse button and right button and drag forward, I go up, drag it down, I go down. The second way is a lot more familiar to you having used Maya. So if I hold down Alt and left mouse button, I'm orbiting around whatever the focus is on. If I hold Alt, continuing, and now I hit right mouse button, drag to the left, drag to the right, I'm zooming in and out. And if I middle mouse button while holding Alt, I can pan. Good. To focus on an object, click on it and press F. Now, holding Alt and orbiting around, that focus is centered on the object. So moving objects around, clicking on them, click, drag, pretty simple. If I hold Alt and drag, I'll make a duplicate. If I hold Alt and Shift and drag, I will make a duplicate and move the camera to follow that duplicate. Alright, so we're just going to quickly talk about a few more icons here. Right here you have your translate, rotate, and scale tools. So if you want to click between those, if you have an object selected, now I'm on scale, rotate, translate. So this will enable grid snapping. This is going to say how many units you're going to snap. This right here will be for rotation snapping. Again, what degree are we going to snap in our rotation? And then this is scale, same deal. So this is going to scale at these. Okay. All of that can be changed and be turned off if you do not want snapping on or off. Okay. And then your camera speed. Right now I'm at 4, so using my normal way of kind of moving around in here, using Alt, kind of orbiting around, backing up. I prefer that speed. We can turn that down if we want. You can turn it up. Sometimes in larger scenes, you might need to turn that up a little bit to just kind of get out, quicker. So that's 5. I'll show you something like 1. Very slow. Okay, and I'm doing the same exact presses that I did before. So I just want to talk about this grid snapping really quick and show you what this looks like. So by default here we've got this at 5, moving pretty easy, but it's snapping between 5. If I turn that way up, something like 100, you can now see as I move, it's snapping to those increments. Same kind of deal is going to happen. Same kind of deal will happen here with rotation. Change that to something like 45. Rotate. And same scale. Okay, so the controls here in our perspective view are pretty straightforward. If I click this little box right here, this will maximize or minimize the viewport and let us see our orthographics. Okay, so top and side. All of these have similar controls. We can do, different shading methods, and we have these same drop downs in all of them. Okay, but most of the time you probably be working in perspective view. Change different modes like lit, unlit. That's going to be right under here, under the view modes. See it unlit, wireframe, etc. Okay, this drop down. Some main things you're going to want to pay attention to in here is field of view. Okay, so this is just changing the field of view of your camera. Default is at 90. You can click on this for game view, which will remove any of the objects in the scene, like sphere reflection captures, lights, things kind of going on behind the scenes. So if we hit G on the keyboard, that brings that back. Immersive mode, we can go ahead and click that. And that's going to be like a full screen view. Come out of that, same deal. Now by default, on a lot of the Macs, I believe function F11 is going to minimize your program. So using that hotkey will not work unless we change that in the settings within your Mac. All right, so just a quick overview of everything you're seeing here on the screen. You've got your content browser down here, which you will be needing to use and dig through when you're going through your content folders for adding objects into your scene. I prefer to have this little sources panel kind of out, and then I can browse down the tree of folders. If you don't want that, just click this little button. Use your import and save. So on the right, we've got your outliner, which is very similar to something you might have seen in Maya. We can put things in folders, we can group them, we can make them visible or not. All that's going to be right in here. So generally I have this open. I need to kind of look through that quite a bit, and you can scale that up where you want. And then you have your details. So if I go ahead and find some of my static meshes, chair, now you can see that I have all the details and properties of what's going on with this chair. And there's quite a bit of settings. You aren't going to need to worry about too many of them in this course, but just so you know. Up top, you've got a few more options. You can save. Things you will need to know is build. We can go ahead and just click this to build our lighting when we need to. And then playing will play in the level and drop the character wherever the player start is. Over here we have various volumes, lights, objects, things that you'll need for this scene maybe, and definitely building scenes in layer classes. Volumes will be one that you will want to be familiar with. You'll need the light mass importance volume. Lights, things like point light, directional light, basic, there's some things you can see. Okay. And then finally, one of the things you will definitely be needing for this class is high resolution screenshot. Go ahead and click that, open it up. This is essentially a multiplier. Generally speaking, you're probably going to want to do between 2 and 4 for what you'll be turning in. This is going to give you a much larger render. You can always scale down. So let's say we want to take a shot of this. We'll go ahead and change this to something like 2. And then we can just hit take a screenshot. There'll be a little dialog that pops up to let you know where it saves. And you can click that link to go right to that